here's Brody Brazil.
Normally this might have been a situation where I make two separate videos about two separate lawsuits filed by different people against different Major League Baseball teams, but there's weirdly enough in common here to put this all under the roof of just one video because it is kind of interesting. You don't see baseball teams sued every single day or year or even decade, but right now, two separate Major League Baseball teams facing two very different lawsuits, but each of them equally interesting. So let's begin with the first one. In Denver, Colorado, Timothy Roeckel attended a Rockies game. Roeckel at the Rockies game back in July of 2023. Timothy was, and by the way, I hope I'm pronouncing Roeckel properly for Timothy. Timothy was in a luxury suite at Coors Field, and a foul ball, unluckily, hit him right in the face and caused some damage to his right eye. It caused what they're saying is catastrophic and permanent damage for Timothy Roeckel. He claims that the view from the suite he was in was obstructed. So essentially, even if he was paying attention to the baseball game, it would have been hard to see the baseball's flight and path into the suite. And I mean, just what are the odds, right? It's one thing if you're sitting low in the stands, but to be as high as you are in a luxury suite that also could have glass doors that open and shut. The doors were open, the foul ball came in, and of all the places and things it could hit, it hits Timothy Roeckel on one of the most sensitive parts of a body, the face and obviously the eyes. But it wasn't just that he says he could not see the travel and flight of this baseball. Roeckel's lawyers claim that the suites at Coors Field are designed for socializing and not the game. Well, to some degree, that's obvious, but that's the intention of buying a ticket or attending a game in a suite, is that you may be having more conversation than actually watching of a baseball game. Although the mix could be different from everybody, it's simply understood that being in a suite is different than being in the stands. But it also takes it a step further. Listen to this. The lawsuit reads, quote, defendant's long-standing poor performance on the field. We're talking about the Rockies here. Defendant's long-standing poor performance on the field has contributed to a game day environment in which spectators, particularly those in luxury suites, are less engaged with the action. Now, I've highlighted this for a reason. You can reread it in your mind like one more time before I'll move on here. But basically, let's translate this. The Rockies have been so bad for so long that on game days, when people come to Coors Field, especially fans that go sit in luxury boxes, they couldn't care less about the game, and the Rockies are so bad, nobody's paying attention, and in this case, it cost somebody the injury of getting hit in the face with a baseball. I'm sorry if I have to laugh at that, but that is some very detailed reasoning right there. That's a stretch right there of everything that's going on. Roeckel is seeking a jury trial and unspecified damages in this lawsuit. Colorado, by the way, as a state, generally protects stadiums and team entities from liability of foul balls. There was an act, I want to say, from 1993, which still exists, that it makes the patrons and the attendees of an event, the ones that are liable, they understand the risks they're taking by going to a sporting event, particularly a baseball game. But Roeckel's attorneys say that this is different, that act from 1993, it doesn't necessarily apply here because they say the team has been negligent about the obstruction and also how bad they are, I guess. And all of this hits in a really untimely fashion right now because the Rockies 2 years ago were not great, but the Rockies here in 2025 are on pace to eclipse even what the White Sox did last year in losing more than 120 games. The Rockies are on a 130-plus loss pace right now for 2025, which would set a brand new record. So it's embarrassing, right? All the way around. That's where I'll start my takeaways. This whole scenario is embarrassing, that the Rockies are this bad, that somebody would use that as a lawsuit reasoning of why they got hit in the face with a baseball because the team is so bad. Then don't come to the game. I mean, I don't want to get too deep in my position here on all of this, but it's embarrassing all the way around. How bad the team is, the fact that this gets called out in a lawsuit, and the fact that somebody is trying to maybe get rich off of getting hit in the face with a baseball. Things like this, unfortunately, happen when you go to a baseball game. That's my second takeaway here. Life is a continuous set of calculated risks. You take a risk when you drive to Coors Field, when you attend a baseball game at Coors Field, how much you eat, drink, or consume at Coors Field. maybe you have a cigarette on the way home. That's a calculated risk. I'm just making things up here. The drive home, the commute home is a risk. Everything you do is a risk. You can't just go to a baseball game and think that you're automatically protected because you're in a luxury suite or anywhere else. You have to be paying attention. And on that note, my personal belief is that Major League Baseball in recent years has already taken huge steps, particularly on foul balls to protect fans. You remember it just used to be the backstop. The netting behind home plate was it. And a bat might get broken and helicopter into the stands. We saw that, unfortunately, a couple times, like at Fenway Park in recent years, where somebody got slashed basically across the throat with a broken bat that helicoptered into the stands. I want to say that was an A's and Red Sox game from like 7 or 8 years ago. The point is, now that they've taken those nets all the way down the respective foul lines, they've tried to do more than ever to obstruct views, but also protect fans from flying bats and balls that go into the stands. So you can't necessarily say that baseball hasn't been proactive here. They actually have. But what's in all of this for the prosecution? Again, the defendant are the Rockies. The prosecution is the person who got hit by the foul ball here. Are you just trying to get your damages paid for? Are you did you lose visibility with one of your eyes? Is that going to affect your life and your employment? Can you blame that all on the Rockies? What are you trying to get out of this? Rich? Paid back? Notoriety? It's just a really interesting lawsuit up in Colorado. Okay. Moving on, we've got a separate lawsuit in Cincinnati, Ohio, this one being filed by a former Major League Baseball player. Darin Ruf played his final baseball game June 2nd, 2023 at Great American Ballpark, this game where he got injured. That was not his final ever baseball game. He tried to make a comeback in the minor leagues. He just could not crack a Major League roster again. But his final Major League game, we know the date because it was the day he was playing first base for the Brewers in the early innings in a game against the host team, the Reds. Foul ball goes almost, I think, into the stands, but Ruf is the first baseman in foul ground. He goes chasing after it, and he runs into the tarp. His left knee, which I'll show you in just a second, it strikes the tarp, chasing after the foul ball. It's the edge of the tarp, not the middle of the tarp. It's not padded. It's just literally a big round metal or a metal cylinder that's not protected on the ends. It's got some hard surfaces, and because of that collision, Ruf says he suffered permanent and substantial deformities to his knee, was never able to play Major League Baseball again. There's Ruf on the play going for that foul ball, which he couldn't get to. There you can see his left knee striking the corner of that tarp. Is that like a Gorilla Glue advertisement there? But that's just a piece of fabric. There's like no padding on this actual tarp, which we've all understood. If you've been on a Major League field, if you've seen the tarp come out, you know that it's pretty much a cover and a hard metal piece and the tarp that's rolled around the actual cylindrical part. Ruf afterwards had to come out of the game. There you see the trainers tending to him. He walks off the field, and that's the last time he's ever on a Major League field. But to the point, he did walk off on his own power, but obviously we know he sustained some pretty substantial damages. So Darin Ruf says this about his injury, quote, "This didn't need to happen. I wish it didn't happen. Players shouldn't have to worry about hidden hazards like that on a Major League field." Is it a hidden hazard, though? Like, maybe some ballparks have more padding for their tarps. All the fields have tarps. Well, the outdoor fields do. The indoor ones don't need them. But if you've been around pretty much any Major League Diamond or minor league diamond, you know that these exist. You know that they're generally a hazard. And I'm not saying this hazard should or shouldn't be there, but I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that something like this was there. Ruf's attorney is Tad Thomas, who says this, quote, "There are basic safety protocols every MLB team should follow. Leaving an unpadded metal roller on the edge of the field is inexcusable," end quote. But every team does it, and every team has been doing it for decades now. So again, it's not a surprise. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying none of this should have caught anybody by surprise. And to some degree, there should be some level of awareness like, oh, this is over there, and if I run into this, I'm going to get hurt. But I don't disagree with the fact that, why is this out there again? So let's get to my takeaways on this situation. Tarps do seem archaic, right? The fact that there's a big metal object and it's right on the field and it's always covered by an advertisement. Obviously, they didn't used to be, but nowadays they are. It seems archaic that it would even need to be there. but it's so necessary. Like when you see how fast they need to get the tarp on the field and roll that thing off, it's literally the only way to do it. They don't have like a retractable tarp they can pull from out under the stands and it tucks away nicely. This is kind of the only way reasonably to do it. And I would say that going against the tarp is this. Almost everything else at field level on a major league playing surface is padded. Every railing, every fence, some places like Wrigley Field, there's ivy and there's a brick wall right behind that. But they've tried to make every hard surface soft on playing surfaces across Major League Baseball. Tarps are one of the last things that exist. They've taken bullpens generally off the fields of Major League Diamonds. They've tried to get rid of all the obstacles, but everything else is safe and padded. This is one of those things that is not. But there's no secret, right? Like, what's under that tarp's cover? There's no secret that if you pound that thing hard with your knee, it's going to hurt. Now, Ruf couldn't stop himself in that play, and I'm sure the collision of knee on tarp was an accident anyway. But it's not like somebody found this out the hard way. Somebody just had an accident. It is that simple. I feel bad for Ruf. I really do feel bad for Darin Ruf. And I don't know if he'll win this lawsuit, but some injuries end a career. Some things like this happen. What if it was Darin Ruf sliding into second base, got his knee tucked in or his cleats tucked in under his back leg and wrecked his knee that way, trying to make a play, sliding into second base? Would he still have the ability to sue the Reds and or Great American Ballpark? Probably not. But in this case, obviously, he feels like it ended his career. Maybe he was already at the end of his career. It's just a messy situation all around. I don't know that it's going to work out well for Darin Ruf or the Rockies fan, but they're just trying to get something out of these unfortunate situations. A baseball striking a fan in the face, unlucky. Having your knee ruined like that on a tarp, also unlucky. I do feel like in the case of the tarp, like the foul ball, what are you really going to do about that? Put nets up in front of the luxury suites too? That seems ridiculous. I do feel like in the case of Darin Ruf, if there's no award to him via this lawsuit, I do think the one thing Major League Baseball could do and probably should do out of this situation is better pad those big metal tarps. I don't think that's asking too much. Let's make sure that nobody else can actually use that as an excuse for a lawsuit again. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's take this as a learning opportunity. I don't know if he can or will or should be compensated. That's not in my pay grade, but I'm just here to say that maybe we can make it better for baseball players because of this experience. All right, let me know what you think about one or both of those lawsuits down in the comment section below. Also, while you're down there, give me a thumbs up on this video. That greatly helps this video, this channel, and of course myself and everything we're doing here on YouTube. And on that note, make sure you are subscribed down there to this channel. Hit the button right now. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.